Good evening and welcome to Louisville Late Night. I'm Patrick Moore, and this evening we're delighted to have with us Keith Schneider of Circle of Blue. And Keith's going to tell us a little bit about the wrath of Mother Nature and some of the social and planetary implications. Keith,
hey,
we're just thrilled to have you here with us again today.
Thanks, Patrick. Good to be here. Good to be here in the Ohio River.
That's an awesome story, that you wrote there in the New York Times about the wrath of Mother Nature. Do you mind? I mean, it's just so pertinent. Do you mind, summing it up? You talked about three big trends.
Right. As we talked last time, I travel all over the world as a journalist. I have a tremendous assignment, real privilege and a responsibility, and I write about energy, water, and food in the area of climate change. And what I write about and what I've seen at the front lines is this tremendous contest for resources that's occurring around the world, and it's having consequences. And so I wrote a piece for the Times that kind of summed up the narrative that we've been working at in Circle of Blue, which is that one of the reasons that the climate accord occurred in Paris is because it recognizes the influence of three really new and powerful trends around the world. And the first one is that Mother Nature is pissed off. Mother Nature is fuming.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature is pushing back against more people in more places and projects we ought not to be building. And so she's pushing back, Tsunamis wrecked the Japanese nuclear sector, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've drowned 2 cities in America, New York and New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Had 2 huge droughts in our 2 biggest states, Texas and California. Around the world as well. Big floods in the Himalayas, earthquakes, plagues out of Africa. She's pushing back. So that's the first trend. It's pushing. Our systems are flimsy in the force of nature. Have you spent a night in an airport with a snowstorm that's like 2 inches large? It cripples an airport. So that's one piece. The second piece is that because people know that Mother Nature is pushing back, and because the projects that are being built to kind of, continue the energy economic strategy of the 20th century, big power plants, big roads, big farms, big mega everything, big transit, everything's big, centralized, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I said, Mother Earth is pushing back. She's taking those things out now. And people know that. And so the second trend is the fact that people are responding. There are big, big civic campaigns all over the world now, a number of which I've covered, and written about, where, people at the ground level are going, ain't gonna happen. In Peru, Cajamarca, which is a big, big cold gold and copper mining area, the campesinos, who are the villagers in the mountains, beautiful mountains, who just said, they are not letting Newmont Mining build a $5 billion new gold mine, big open pit gold mine. They're just like, no, you ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen because, the damage to the landscape and the damage to the water and the damage to their lifestyles, the whole scene, they don't want it. Well, that's happening all over the world. Keystone XL pipeline in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
went down, right? Because of an incredible civic campaign against it that was national and bipartisan, that joined all kinds of, people that didn't actually talk to each other. So that's the second one. People are organizing and pushing back. And the third one that's been really new
Mm-hmm.
is that the finance markets, the financial markets are getting nervous about investing in fossil fuel projects, particularly coal projects, but also oil projects.
Mm-hmm.
Shell pulled out of the Arctic last summer, Shell oil. The largest proposed coal mine in Australia just went down because the Bank of Australia, the largest bank in Australia, said we're not going to do it. Civic campaign attached. Greenpeace made the case that the environmental damage on shore and the potential environmental damage from the coal ships to the Great Barrier Reef right there just made it untenable. Not needed, dirty, made the point. So you had the financial markets and the civic markets both saying, ain't gonna happen. Well, those are huge trends. Earth is pushing back, people are organizing, and the banks won't fund it. The world's changing. The world's making a pivot on coal. And the only, and oil, and the only place that's really not is, the U.S. Congress.
Well, also the mindset of a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans, you know, believe Fox News and you know that there is no climate problem, and
I mean, but they're wrong. So, but most of the world is right. You know, a week and a half ago, 195 nations, when was the last that time, signed an accord, a global accord, committing to reductions in carbon emissions.
And you think that'll be enforced?
Yes.
That the enforcement will occur?
I mean, it's the sentiment, it's the commitments that they're making. It's kind of a new kind of agreement. Yeah, you can be part of the, you know, the nations of the world, the people of the world. You can. And 195 people say, we're with you. We're going to deal with this. What's the one place that's not? Washington, U.S. Congress, fighting Obama, who's been incredibly heroic. I mean, this accord wouldn't happen without President Obama backing it and signing agreements with China to reduce emissions. And, you know, so what I said in the piece is, look, you know, that tissue of denial is going to rupture. It's fraying and it's got to rupture. I mean, it's bound to rupture. It can't hold because it's you know, it's like saying the earth is flat, you know?
You're talking about a radical change, though, in our whole economy, the whole world economy.
Hopefully, well, it's not radical. This is all steady. This is generational. What we're talking about.
I see.
This is generation. This is what I link it to. What happened to the sail-powered schooner industry in the age of steamships. That's all what we're doing. We're taking sailing is not, you know, sail power ain't the way. We're going to go to steamships. That's what happens. That's where we're at. Took a while, but it's happening. And yeah, you know, in 20 years. We're going to be, you know, dealing with all of this a little differently. And I'm an optimist by nature.
Yeah.
But here's the key. The planet, Mother Earth, is forcing this. The planet, the power of nature, saying this ain't going to happen. Yeah. And you're just going to have to adjust because I'm going to force you to adjust. You're going to have to twist. You're going to have to pivot. You are pivoting. You know, you have no choice, right? Right? You have no choice. The seas are rising. There's tougher storms. We've got more stuff in those tougher storms. There's 7 billion of us, not 3. You know, you're just going to have to change it. You cannot continue to proceed like you are indefinitely without significant changes. And Mother Earth, has a sense that you don't have a death wish. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. You're my people, I'm going to take care of you. We're going to do this together. That's what I think. I really think that. I think Mother Earth, doesn't matter what Washington is doing. Mother Earth is saying, you have no choice. And so she's going to guide us. I think she's guiding us. And hopefully, you know, the thing with the financial markets, that's the key.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you got $20 trillion of carbon in the ground, oil, coal, natural gas, $23 trillion. And, you know, a good deal of the banking system is kind of on that. You know, tentacles into that. And, you know, people start getting nervous too fast because financial markets move a lot faster than human, you know, I mean, than natural markets. We're in a natural market, so.
Well,
I mean, this isn't going to be easy, but we don't have a choice.
Regardless of politics, political parties, countries.
It didn't hold, you know, it held. People have been talking about climate change since 1960, scientists.
You're the first person to mention a connection between ISIS and the drought over in Syria.
Yeah.
The farmers were just had no money and went to the cities and.
Well, the Syrian government had overtapped the desert to plant really water-thirsty crops like cotton as an export. You know, for export markets, and it lasted a little bit, you know. But there wasn't, you know, the drought made that industry, that export-oriented cash crop industry, untenable. And a lot of people were hooked into it. I mean, they grew food out there and all the rest, but it was the industrial crops, because you know, you build a nice irrigation system and you water the desert. You know, when you don't have any water, i.e., California, it doesn't work.
So do you see the ecology harmony having a peace where war is not practical anymore?
I just think that we're going to have to learn how to do a lot more with a lot more careful, ecologically sensitive practices. See, what I think is happening, and you can see it emerging in places like California, a little bit when we were in Panama, Northern Europe, right? Parts of New England, the Northwest, Canada, Ontario, now Alberta just enacted a carbon tax in Alberta, which is where tar sands comes from. So what I think is happening is that people understand that ecological principles, you know, how these natural systems work and our relationship to them and how we have to care for them. Mother Nature is saying don't use it. They're not telling us, no, don't use it. They're saying use it. Why? You know, use it with some care.
Yeah.
Use it with some thinking, you know, intelligence and heart and love, you know. You know, I'm not saying don't use it, but don't mess with it. And you're messing with it, so I'm pushing back, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, if we can get through this period of fear that we're in all over the world, in the United States, if we can get through that, you know, maybe we'll, as a species, as a being, as a humanity, you know, the Pope is all about this. You can see the buds, the serious buds of something new being born, I think, here.
Yeah.
And the side that don't want that to emerge is pushing as hard as they can, but the earth is not letting them. They cannot win that battle. We have tipped over that battle, you know? The more we use of that stuff, the worse off we are, right?
Yeah.
The worse off we are. People are getting the story, you know? People. Mother Earth is telling us, look, this cannot hold, right?
All right.
And I, the Mother Earth, don't think you guys have a death wish. I really don't. I've been taking care of you for millions of years. Do not mess this up, you know? I'm gonna help you. That's what I really think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit, my work about this is far more optimistic than pessimistic.
Oh yeah, amazing.
My work
But you're talking about gigantic changes.
Yeah, gigantic changes. Fundamentally, 100 years from now, people are going to be living differently. Substantively differently, hopefully better. But it will be in accord with what, you know, makes sense with our planet. Our planet is a living, biological, active, intelligent, amazingly intelligent, God-given frickin' system. It's a system, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I think this system is saying